All right, what's going on, everybody? This is your brother Asad,
And I'm Adrienne.
and we are here again for another quick video. Because y'all tired of that joke, but we really planned it to be like, okay, this is gonna be about 15 minutes, and next thing you know, it's 30 minutes. So, but we wanted to talk about this travel ban. But before we get into that, we wanted to invite some of our viewers or subscribers or a South African family as well as our African American family. We're going to do a Zoom call on Friday
Yes,
at noon Central Time
here in the U.S.
here in the U.S.,
Right.
which would be 8 p.m. in South Africa, which would be 1 p.m. in New York, and 10 a.m. in Cali.
California. Yep.
Yep.
Hmm.
So I think that covers the major areas. So we're
Yeah.
going to do a Zoom call. We'll have the Zoom information in the link. Think there might be a password or whatever have you. I'll put the password in there. Look, we're just trying to network, link, talk, discuss SA, discuss African American and South African relations, and just kind of commune with some of our
Yeah.
people as we make our preparation to be in South Africa in December and our transition to the continent, to South Africa in 2022. So let's talk about Uncle Joe.
He's talking about Joe Biden.
Joe Biden.
Thank
Black folk in America was calling him Uncle Joe. And I
hmm
always despised
That
that
term.
terminology. He is not my uncle, you know? He is not my uncle, and he has been, let me say this. I don't want to get too controversial, and which I don't mind critiquing my government. It is my government. I am a citizen, and I value my
Pay
freedom.
plenty of taxes too.
I pay plenty of taxes, and I have given to my
Hmm.
country, right? So, and Adrian has served the country in the military,
Yeah.
right? So, if anyone should be able to critique, it should be the people who have been victimized for the last 400 years. So,
Hmm.
um, Uncle Joe has been problematic for some time. This is the man who authored the crime bill that essentially created mass incarceration for African Americans. So I've always had my critique of Joe Biden, even when he was the vice president of the United States. So this is not new. Um, he has he has his good points. He
Hmm.
and he has his bad points. And when he is correct, then I think he should be given credit. And when he is incorrect or in error, he should be admonished and called to task. And this is one of those times. So the South African travel ban, and it's not just South Africa, the country, it's really the
Southern Africa. Right.
Southern Africa travel ban. So let's talk about it. So the first thing that I want to
Mm.
bring up is this. Pierce Morgan. Now let's keep in mind who Pierce Morgan is. Pierce Morgan is the British Rush Limbaugh.
Right.
Pierce Morgan.
Pierce
Pierce
Morgan.
Morgan is problematic as heck, right? He came to the United States. He had very,
Yep.
very um, um, strong critiques during the Black Lives Matter movement. Very
Hmm.
strong critiques at times of President Obama. That's fine because I had strong critiques of President Obama myself. However,
Even Meghan and Harry, he was hard
he
on Meghan.
had problems with Meghan and Harry. How you mad at marriage? But he put out a tweet, and I'm not going to quote it word for word because I actually posted it on in the use in YouTube. Oh, you're going to look it
I
up?
think so. Yeah,
Okay,
we
so
can look
she
this up.
she is going to look it up in the YouTube community.
Yes.
So he says that Omicron. This is word for word from Pierce Morgan. See, before we read it, message the sometimes you say don't blame the messenger or whatever have you. We have learned over time that the messenger is also as important as the message, and here's why. When I read this, I will tell you why. Omicron is not a South African variant. It is a variant that was spotted and reported by brilliant South African scientists so fast the world has a chance to get on top of it. could have originated anywhere. Bam. Again,
Man.
this
Even a broken clock
is right twice a day. Even a broken clock is right twice a day. The importance of the messenger, right? Piers Morgan gains nothing from his constituency for making that statement. He gains nothing. His constituency are not black folk in South Africa. His constituency are not black folk in America. He is a British man who is, out in wherever, England or wherever he may be, making this observation, right? So even a broke clock is right twice a day. And he got it right this time. Piers Morgan got it right. The Omicron variant does not belong to South Africa. South African scientists were the first to sequence and identify the variant. They should be applauded and not punished. Right? They should be applauded and not punished. And secondly, let's talk about the clinical presentation of the Omicron variant. Right? We hear the word, it's a new variant, we thinking zombies.
Make us all die.
Oh my God, it's a new variant. Oh my God. So what is the clinical presentation of the Omicron variant? Well, according to South African scientists, as well as the other scientists in Europe who have studied the Omicron variant, the clinical presentation is body aches, as well as sleepiness, right? It has not increased hospitalizations. It has not increased the numbers of deaths, right? So we're not talking about a variant like the Delta that was extra deadly, right? We're talking about a variant that has very mild symptoms in terms of its clinical presentation.
It's very contagious.
It is but they don't know.
Well, that's what I've heard.
Right? They are assuming that it may be more contagious. They are also assuming that it may be resistant to vaccines. But they don't know. They don't know. And okay, fine. Take precautions. And this gets into our second point. So the first point is this. The Omicron variant does not belong to South Africa. It was only sequenced and identified by South African scientists. It is currently in Egypt, it is currently in Europe, and it's currently in Israel, and I can guarantee you that it is in the United States.
If it's there, it's got to be here.
What? If it's in Israel, you know it's here.
Some of y'all haven't been here, but it's like COVID's over. We were in Texas, huh?
Man, COVID been over in Texas.
Every restaurant we went to, no mask anywhere.
Man, we left Louisiana during the middle of COVID to go to Texas because we was just like, we need a break. God, COVID. Texas said, man, we don't do no COVID over here, no mask, no hand sanitizer. We were in the hotel and I put my hand under the little thing to get the hand sanitizer. It was bone dry. No sanitizer.
And you contrast that to your experience in South Africa, where it's like every place you walk into, the mask has to be on.
They spray your hands and they're asking for your name and your phone number. Right.
They're doing contact tracing. That's not happening here.
No, indeed. Contact tracing stopped way in 2020.
Right.
Way in 2020, people stopped asking questions about where you going, what's your phone number, because I did some research for the University College London on contact tracing here in New Orleans. And the resistance, right? There was resistance. People, we are American. Why you need to know where I'm going and where I've been and all of that type of stuff. So the contact tracing thing never really jumped off. I mean, it was implemented in policy and written in policy, but in actual praxis, nah. I've never been anywhere in New Orleans and someone asked me for my name, where I'm going, where I've been.
The restaurants were supposed to be.
They were supposed
checking if you were vaccinated.
Let me tell you something.
To let you in. Has anyone checked?
I've never been checked to see if I was vaccinated.
No one's asked.
My gym, I go to the gym often, at least 4 or 5 times a week. On the door, there is literature that says, in order to come in, you must have proof that you have a negative PCR test or you have been fully vaccinated. A negative PCR test in the last 7 days. They have the literature on the wall. No one checks. You walk in and so when I go to the gym, No one in the gym is wearing masks. You know how hard it is to run on a treadmill with a mask on, right? No one is wearing masks. I'm not saying this is a good thing. What I'm saying is, if the variant is in Israel, if the variant is in Europe, it is in the United States.
Right.
The important thing to understand about those PCR tests is that those tests do not test for variants. They only test for the presence of COVID.
Right.
Right? So all these people walking around, I got a negative or saying they have a positive test, we don't know the variant, right? Because we don't know. We for sure don't know if it's the Omicron variant because it was just sequenced, and reported 2 or 3 days ago.
Right.
So we don't know how prevalent that variant is in the United States. Okay, so number one, the variant is not a South African variant. It was only sequenced and identified by South African scientists. Okay. Number two, the clinical presentation of the variant. The clinical presentation of the variant does not seem to be any more deadly. Now, there are some questions again about transmissibility as well as the vaccine, whether the vaccine is effective against this particular variant or not. However, it does not seem to be more deadly. There's no sharp increase in the the rise of hospitalizations or anything. So what do we have next? What is number three?
The effects on the economy, and that was one of the things that really struck me.
Yeah,
it was this knee-jerk reaction of banning all of these Southern African countries, and you just have to think, what is the sort of long-term effect on their economies?
Right.
By shutting them out.
Right.
Especially this tourism sector.
Right.
And we know so far, I was listening to a show, and I can't remember whose show it was, that was saying that there had been over 2 million job losses in South Africa as a result of COVID, and how devastating this could be on the economy.
Right. It was a South African economist. He was on Newsroom Africa, I believe it's called.
Yeah.
So, but yeah.
So yeah. I mean,
we know that the effects on tourism, travel, business, not just tourism, but business in general. We know that the effects were taken into consideration. How do we know? Because the United States didn't choose to place a travel ban on Europe, where the variant is also present. It didn't choose to place a travel ban on Israel, where the variant is also present. It didn't choose to place a travel ban on Egypt, where the variant is also present, right? However, it chose these Southern African states. Is it 7 or 8 African states? I think it's 8 African states, including South Africa, right? So those economies were taken into consideration, right? But not the Southern African nations and their economies. And December is a major festive time in South Africa, right? So now they are in many ways crippling the South African economy after already being crippled by the onset of COVID-19 in 2020, right?
Yeah.
That's when you craft public policy, you have to think of ramifications from several aspects, right? Several points of view. And let's be clear, for those who may argue, well, America has to protect its people. Let's be clear again. Europe is not banned. Israel is not banned. Egypt is not banned. And here's the killer. Americans are exempt from this travel ban.
Yep.
Right? Americans are exempt. So for those who are wondering, are we still coming in December? Yes, because we don't have to abide by this particular rule. This rule applies to individuals who are not American citizens coming into the United States, returning into the United States. It does not stop us as American citizens from traveling anywhere in the world to or from. Yeah. Right? So we can still go to, so let's talk about protection.
Right.
Protection. I can go to Europe today, or I can go to South Africa or Egypt or Israel
today. No, you
today.
can't go to Israel. Israel said no.
Oh, Israel.
Foreign travel.
Oh, good. Shout out to Israel.
Shot everybody down.
Well, we'll talk about them at another time.
That's a whole episode all by itself.
By itself. So I can
get their stimulus.
Right. We already know. I think we wrote the United States wrote a $3 billion check to.
Right.
That's neither here nor there.
Doesn't get those stimulus.
Yeah, right. Well, I would like a little stimulation. I would like a little stimulation for black folk in the United States, but that's a whole nother conversation. But I can go to any of these places besides Israel, right? And stay there for as long as I want, or stay there for as long as my visa will allow. Get a negative PCR test, right? And then go to the airport, contract COVID-19, still jump on the plane, because the COVID test have to be 72 hours, right? Before your departure. So I can get on a plane, I can contract COVID-19 in the airport.
Right.
Get on a plane, come back to the United States, show them my negative PCR test, and then go and spread it all around New Orleans.
Because we're not wearing masks.
Because no one's wearing masks. The mask mandate has been lifted. So we don't have to wear. I still try to wear my mask every now and then in buildings or whatever have you. But the mask mandate has been lifted. So theoretically, any American who chooses to travel abroad now to these places where this variant has been identified can come back into the United States and rapidly spread this variant. So it is not about protection of the American people, right? If it were, they would say, no, y'all need to stay still. Travel to Chicago, travel to New York. Don't travel outside of this country, right? Or if you're coming back, mandatory quarantine for 14 days. None of this is in place. None of this is in place. So we know that this was a knee-jerk reaction by if we want to talk about Biden's clinical presentation, we can diagnose Biden.
I mean, I don't know. Do you think it's because I know his approval numbers are a little low right now. Do you think that it's like, well, I want to appear strong in managing this pandemic, so let me do something that appears to be something a strong leader would do?
Yeah,
is that the knee jerk?
If it were that, which I'm not saying it's not, because I right now I'm not too sure about his mental state, and I'm not saying that to joke. I'm not saying that. I am not too sure about his executive functioning in a mental context, right? So it could be, but then it's not well thought out. Again, if that be the case, I want to appear strong. I want to make sure that if this variant has the possibility to be as devastating as the Delta variant was, I want to get ahead of this, jump on this, and appear strong. Then you would have put in place other policies, and those policies would include Americans and their travel restrictions. What he actually does is make himself appear weak, because if he wanted to protect the American people, you have to make some tough decisions. Look, America, we're going to lock you down just within the borders, right?
But we know that doesn't turn into approval numbers
at all. You can't do that. Not again. So then that means he's weak in terms of his executive decision making. He has to be swayed by public opinion and not the policy that would best protect, if that was his motivation. If that was his motivation, the policy that would best protect would be, okay, Israel, right, we're locking down. That's a policy that's going to best protect, if that's their motivation. We're locking down, no one's coming until we get this thing under control. That is a policy, that's an executive decision that appears, at least on the surface, to be about protecting the people. A policy that says we're banning Southern Africans from coming to the United States is a dog whistle to white racists and white supremacists. I didn't want to say it, but I had to say it.
I didn't know if you were going to go there, but you took it right on in.
I had to say it. It is a dog whistle to racists and white supremacists. That's exactly what that is. That's how I read it. Nah, I could be wrong, but I doubt it.
Well, Trevor said there could be multiple truths.
There could be multiple truths. He did say that.
We all see a thing from our angle and our experiences.
And we all bring
multiple truths.
We all bring our own life experience into our analysis of a situation. But Trump said African countries were SHIT whole countries, right? And that wasn't just African. He also was talking about Latin America, but mainly African countries. He said they were, and his policy, his policy matched his language. Biden, on the other hand, this is our critique of the Democrats, right?
Yeah.
They smile. You know, Brother Malcolm talked about the fox and the wolf. He said the fox will look like he's smiling at you, but he's ready to bite you.
Right.
Right? So the Democrats smile and they look like they are our friend. They look friendly. But the policy is the same. Trump banned and insulted the countries. Biden just smiled and banned the country. You see what I'm saying? The policy, at the end of the day, the policy is what matters, right? And that's exactly, to me, it is a dog whistle to white supremacists, you know. And I mean, if we can really get into the cultural climate of the country right now, post the Trump, post the Black Lives Matter movement, post Ahmaud Arbery and Kyle Rittenhouse, all of the
walls being built and anti-immigration and Haitians getting
and all. So we talk about that. This is a dog whistle. This is a old white man whose good friend was Strom Thurmond, a staunch segregationist. Right? This is who Joe Biden is.
Strom Thurmond was his good friend?
What? This who Joe Biden is. So this is the wink and a nod, right, to a certain segment of America who does not want to see a flourishing Africa. That's real. That's real. I mean, now,
you remember when they predicted how bad COVID was going to be?
And they keep writing these articles. What is going on? They keep writing articles. Man,
the African continent will be
devastated by COVID. And COVID is going to, we are worried. And then the articles went from how devastating it's going to be. Well, we need to investigate what's going on. Why Africa?
Isn't it?
Our plan is not working.
Did it backfire?
What is going on? Why isn't Africa being devastated? Not that Africa has dealt with other contagious diseases in the past, like Ebola, and they've already have the public health infrastructure in place that America chooses to ignore when you get a president like Donald Trump who comes into office after President Obama, and he dismantles your public health system. Yeah. So that's not the reason why COVID was bad, right? And Africa has and many African countries have already dealt with outbreaks of various diseases, so they have the infrastructure in place. They knew what to do, right? And some. Let's be clear, but overall, the second most populous continent on the planet Earth, right, has had minimal COVID-19 cases and deaths. I think it was like only 4%.
All in
all, Africa has not only fared decently, it has fared very well in comparison to Europe and North America, right?
You know, on the other side of COVID, I really hope that we see more trade, more business, more intra-African trade and business, intra-African tourism and travel, right?
Latin America too, Caribbean,
right. But I'm just saying, landlocked neighbors, being able to depend on one another, build economies with each other.
Right. You know, there's this brother that I'm friends with on LinkedIn, or connected. I don't know if they call it friends, but connected on LinkedIn, and he talks about the United States of Africa, and it's not a original idea, but it's an idea that must be pursued, whether there is a formal document that links all 54 countries of the continent, or whether it's just agreements, right? Africa has everything it needs to be successful within its borders, and within its continental borders, has everything it needs to be not equal, to any other nation or to any other landmass, but to far surpass. Right? So there's some work that needs to be done on this side as African Americans. And there's some work that needs to be done on that side with continental Africans. Right. Like you said, increasing as much trade and tourism and business as possible with other African nations to ease that dependence on Europe, on the United States, right? And that's not a South African thing. That's not a Southern African thing. That is a continental thing, right? So yeah, some things need to change, and I would like to see that. I would like to see it, you know. But right now, well, it is what it is. We're still coming in December. How you love that?
Inshallah.
Inshallah. Unless he gets cocky. We gonna ban everything. We gonna if you're black, you can't come back. That would be outrageous.
Somebody will help Uncle Joe out.
I don't know. Uncle Joe and then Kamala's in France talking with an accent.
Oh Lord.
I just don't know right now. Talking politics is always controversial, but when we look, it's so funny when we listen to a guy from Nigeria who's really from London, but he's Nigerian.
No, he's Nigerian, like. You know.
I think he was
born in Nigeria.
Okay. Anyway. And his critique of Nigeria was strong. Man, he had a very strong critique of Nigeria. I talked to some South Africans who have a very strong critique of South Africa. And I definitely talked to Black Americans who have a very strong critique of the United States. Yeah. And I think it's just, it's something to be said for people who look at their nation. And I think many of us have bought into the ideals of the nation. I know I have. Freedom, justice, equality. These things are very important in the United States. And I was sold this bill of goods, yet I have never seen these things. I was told that this is the freest nation on earth. I was told that this is the best nation on earth. I was told that I had all of these liberties and all of these rights, which sometimes I do see them, hence the travel ban not affecting American citizens. However, to live in this country and not experience these things as I see others have experienced, that gives us a strong critique of what you say on paper versus what you do in practice. Right? What America says on paper is beautiful. Yeah. You read the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution and these ideals put down by the founding fathers of this nation. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal, simultaneously owning slaves. So what they wrote on paper was beautiful, but what they practiced was horrible. It was horrible, and it's been horrible for our people for a very long time. Multiple truths, right? Multiple truths. So anyway, there it is, 28 minutes. We did it again. It's supposed to be 15. We're supposed to be in and out. Bam, bam, bam.
Good now.
All right.
You got a lot to get off your heart.
I did. I wanted to be clear about this particular thing about the South, because the first thing I got a text message from a friend of mine with the news story about the South African variant. Then I got a conversation. Y'all still going, right?
Should we change our plans?
Right. I got a conversation with someone. They got that South African variant and then
y'all may know.
Right. So it's like, well, let's clear the air. It's so. Our people, Americans in particular, when I say our people, not just Black Americans, but Americans do not interrogate nor investigate the news that they receive. They don't ask, they receive it from one source, and that source is it. So if they watch CNN, CNN is the truth. If they watch Fox, Fox is the truth. If they watch MSNBC, MSNBC is the truth. And they never take the time to say, well, let me see what the BBC has to say. Let me see what Al Jazeera has to say. Let me investigate and interrogate this information that they are calling news, right? They just, what's the word? Echo chamber. They just like to exist within an echo chamber. So they watch MSNBC and they hear the left-leaning liberal side, and they just want to keep hearing that news back and forth, and then it validates, right? And then validates their already preconceived notions. Right-wingers, conservative Republicans listen to Fox News, and it validates their already preconceived notions. And the same for CNN, right? None of these news sources are unbiased.
Right.
None of them are unbiased. They all have their agenda that they are trying to push. So with that being said, we hear all of this news all of a sudden in the last 2 days or 3 days on the South African variant, right? And no one's interrogating. No one, intelligent people are not saying, well, wait a minute, why just those countries? They read the news story.
Question that popped in my mind.
They read the news story, and the news story is clear. It says, it's here, it's here, it's here, it's here. But these are the only countries, right?
But the conclusion is.
But that goes back to that
deductive reasoning.
Right. It goes back to that previous video about African American perceptions of Africa, and in addition to that, American perceptions of Africa, right? And this type of paternalistic posture that America takes towards African nations, right? So instead of people, questioning the decision, why just these nations, or questioning why just these nations, they just accept it because, hey, that's Africa. Apparently, we have to do that. That's Africa. We have to treat them in this manner, right? So, anyway, thank you guys for watching. Again, I will leave the Zoom link for the meeting this Friday. Excuse me, December 3rd. Damn near choked. December 3rd at noon Central Standard Time in the United States, which is 8 o'clock in South Africa, which is 11 o'clock in New York, which is 10 o'clock in California. I don't think I missed a time zone in the U.S. I think I got them all right.
No, there's the, is it Mountain Time?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Which is that hour between us. But I don't know how many people. I mean, they can figure it out if they know Central Standard Time.
Exactly.
Relative to
so I will put the link in, and we just want to have us a good conversation, and we could talk about sports. We could talk about race. We could talk about South Africa. We could talk about Africa. We could talk about Black Americans. We could talk about whatever. We're just going to build and have us a good time for an hour. So we hope you guys are able to join us on the Zoom call. Again, the link will be in the description. And any closing words?
Mark your calendars.
There you go.
Mark your calendars.
Mark your calendars. We will be on there Friday at noon, 8 p.m. South African time. And again, I have to end every video by thanking the South African supporters of this channel. I went to the analytics.
And what did they tell you?
The analytics said that over 50% of the subscribers or the viewers of this channel come from South Africa, right? And that is beautiful. Mashallah.
What a blessing.
Yep. So thank you guys for all your support. I'm still getting emails and all sorts of invites. I'm getting, are you guys still Kasandili? Are you guys still coming with the variant? We there. Can't hold me back.
God willing, in the
can't nobody hold me down. Can't nobody take my pride. Thank you guys, man, and see you soon on the next video in about a day or two.
Bye, guys.